journey in the footsteps of history. Hello, it's great to continue this journey. After a story of quiet courage, today we will plunge into a storm of greed, hope, and recklessness that changed America forever. This is a story about gold, but more than that, it is a story about the price of a dream. Part 3, The Gold Fever of 1849, American Dream or Frightening Mirage, the 1849 Gold Rush. The American Dream or a terrible illusion? What if I told you there was a place where gold wasn't buried deep in the earth, but lay exposed on the ground, glittering in the riverbeds, a place where you could pick it up as easily as common stones? Would you believe it? And what if I told you that a single rumor of this place would drive the entire world into a frenzy, that hundreds of thousands of people would abandon their families, their jobs, their homelands, to throw themselves into a life-or-death journey, all for the hope of getting rich overnight? This isn't a fairy tale. This is exactly what happened in the year 1848, kicking off one of the largest and most chaotic mass migrations in human history. Welcome, everyone, to the California Gold Rush. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Journeys Through History. Our story today begins not with a gunshot or a grand declaration, but with a quiet, accidental moment. On January 24th, 1848, at a sawmill known as Sutter's Mill on the American River in California, a carpenter named James W. Marshall was inspecting the water channel. Suddenly, something shimmering in the water caught his eye. He bent down and picked it up, a small lump of metal, yellow, soft, and heavier than a normal pebble. Marshall wasn't an expert, but his heart pounded. He knew he had found something extraordinary. He had found gold. His boss, John Sutter, tried to keep the discovery a secret. But a secret like this cannot be kept. It's like a fire. The rumor began to spread from the workers to the nearby towns, and then throughout California. But the flame only truly erupted into a global inferno when a man named Samuel Brannan, a shrewd businessman, ran through the streets of San Francisco, holding up a bottle full of gold dust and shouting, "Gold, gold, gold from the American River." And then, in December of 1848, the President of the United States, James K. Polk, officially confirmed in a speech to Congress that vast quantities of gold had been found in California. That was the moment the whole world went mad. The gold fever had begun. From the east coast of America, from Europe, Asia, Australia, hundreds of thousands of people who would come to be known as the 49ers flooded towards California. There were farmers, lawyers, doctors, teachers, sailors. They sold their homes, their farms, abandoned everything to chase a single dream, to get rich, quick. But before they could reach the promised land, they first had to cross through hell. They had two choices, and both were filled with peril. The first was by sea, a 6-month journey around Cape Horn at the treacherous tip of South America, a place of deadly storms, or a shorter, but no less dangerous sea route. Sail to Panama, cross the disease-ridden jungle on foot, and then catch another ship on the Pacific coast. The second was overland, across the entire North American continent, a journey of 4 to 6 months in rickety covered wagons, facing scorching deserts, snow-covered mountains, a lack of food and water, and conflicts with Native American tribes whose lands they were crossing. Tens of thousands of people died on the way before they ever laid eyes on a single flake of gold. So what about those who were lucky enough to make it to California? Did they find gold everywhere, just like the rumors said? The reality was far more brutal. The surface gold, the kind that was easy to just pick up, was gone within the first few months. Now, to find gold, the 49ers had to perform some of the most backbreaking and health-destroying labor imaginable. They had to stand for hours in freezing river water, bent over, using crude pans to sift through tons of mud and gravel. The filth, the cold water, and the exhaustion led to rampant disease. Dysentery, cholera, and pneumonia swept through the mining camps. And what about life in those camps? It was chaos. Towns sprung up overnight, with makeshift tents and muddy streets. There was no law, no government, only violence, gambling, and alcohol. And the prices were outrageous. A single egg or an onion could cost the equivalent of a full day's wages back home. Very quickly, the 49ers realized a bitter truth. The people getting rich from the gold rush were not the ones digging for gold. It was the people who were selling things to the gold miners. Entrepreneurs like Samuel Bernanke, man who shouted about the gold, had bought up every pickaxe, shovel, and pan in the region and sold them at astronomical prices. Or an immigrant named Levi Strauss. He noticed the miners needed durable, tough pants, and he used canvas material to make them. The Levi's brand and the legendary blue jean were born. They weren't mining for gold. They were mining the miners, and this fever had a much darker cost. To get to the gold buried deeper, large companies used high-pressure water cannons to blast away entire hillsides, causing catastrophic environmental damage. Thousands of Native American tribes were driven from their ancestral lands, or, worse, were systematically hunted and killed. The gold rush made the dream of some come true, but it did so by destroying the lives and the world of countless others. So what is the legacy of the gold rush? The answer has two sides, just like a coin. The first side is the glitter. Gold turned California from a sparsely populated territory into a wealthy state in just a few years. Cities like San Francisco and Sacramento were built on gold money. These magnificent Victorian buildings, these bustling streets, they are all the tangible legacy of that golden dream. It accelerated America's westward expansion and shaped the face of this nation. But every coin has another side. And this is the other side of the story, a legacy of ghosts. I'm standing in Bodie, one of the best preserved ghost towns in America. Once a booming mining camp with thousands of residents, now there is only a heartbreaking silence. These buildings are still as the owners left them. Dust covers the furniture. A child's shoe is left on the floor. An old newspaper is half read. Each house is an unfinished story, a broken dream. Most of the people who came here left empty-handed or died from disease and violence. This is the true face of the gold rush for the majority of the people. So, was the gold rush of 1849 the American dream or a terrible illusion? The answer, perhaps, is both. It was the dream of the shovel and jeans sellers. It was the dream of the state of California and of the United States. But for the hundreds of thousands who gambled away everything they had, for the families torn apart, for the indigenous tribes destroyed, it was an illusion, a devastating nightmare. This story shows us something timeless. The greed for wealth can be an extraordinary force for progress, but unchecked greed can also be a terrifying force of destruction. It reminds us to always question the true cost behind every glittering dream. Thank you for joining me on this dramatic journey today. What do you think of the gold rush? Would you dare to risk pursuing such a dream? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Audio Story HH, Journeys Through History. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.